So first of all, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me. You've got 40 years of experience in the industry.
That makes me feel old, but I've only been at one place, so I guess that makes it simpler, right?
Yes, and you're second generation.
Yes.
You've been a past president of NAIIA, as well as worked your way through being a past president of several different regional associations in the same industry.
Yes, I volunteer too often.
And you've had a chance to work with this industry for a while, and especially having been a president, you've had a chance to connect with them, figure out really what the sentiment of the industry is towards different changes over the years, right? And I also watched a 2016 interview at NAIIA that you did, where you joked about how automation might replace adjusters.
So it has been around for a while.
Yes. So we're 8 years later. You're still here. The conference is still here.
Yeah, I think with where you're going with that, we all know that automation is creeping into our lives and our businesses, and I think we all worry about it. We all don't really know how fast it's going to happen and what it's going to do, but we know it's happening. And little by little, it does change things. We've seen some change, but I feel like there's a lot more coming.
So what have you seen in the last 8 years since that interview? What have you seen?
I think it's just that technology is faster and better at certain things. Like, if you're an insurance company and you can communicate with people and avoid, like first notice of loss or submitting documentation or just updating them without having to have a physical person do that. I think it's just little by little, it's just changing, and people get more comfortable with doing that, and because they get a different, maybe faster response. And so, the independent adjuster is a little different because people really hire us to have a human face or whatever.
And maybe to have complex handling.
And to have complex handling, yes, absolutely. But some of the easy stuff is not coming back, right? If you'd asked an independent adjuster 20, 30 years ago, they have been doing a lot of really easy stuff.
Yes.
Go out and look at a fence that fell down, or talk to a claimant about a really simple little injury and all that. And that stuff just starts getting marginalized away by technology.
It's the personal lines.
Yeah.
It's the personal lines, the repetitive, property damage, personal injury stuff. And I'm glad you brought that up, because so I've been in this space for almost 20 years. I've watched it while running a transcription company, how it impacted us as the insurers brought in, slowly started with the legal departments. Then Guidewire came in, wiped a lot of the adjusting processes. And that was really on the personal lines, right? Like Guidewire was able to automate some very repetitive tasks that required a lot of adjusting time, but now an adjuster could just put a bunch of notes in and the insurer is notified, and that's pretty much it, right? So a lot of the reporting, like the manual, really tedious admin reporting tasks went away. Question for you. Did you find those tedious? Like, is it such that it's actually helped?
Well, technology can make your business more efficient, and you might make more money because of that. Like, for example, we don't have nearly as many clerical people pushing reports out because it's so, it's so more automated, and the edit. Well, I go back to the time where someone would put a report on my desk, and if I had to make a bunch of edits on it, they had to retype the report, right? Or they had to go into the word processor and really make a lot of changes and reprint it, right? Or use whiteout, if you even know what whiteout is, right?
Yes.
Well, and now it's just things flip out so fast. Or if you're using a CMS, a software program to put stuff out, it's just a few clicks and it's bundled and out, and there's no stapling or sticking in the mail. So we have less people, so we're more efficient. So that's probably good for our margins. Maybe it's not good for people who need jobs. That's a whole different issue. But as a company, sure, there's
so
benefits.
You're more profitable. Like, is the operation more profitable?
I think you might squeeze a few more points out because you don't need as much back office. Yeah.
And over the past, I would say 5-7 years, at least on the commercial side, there's been a lot of catastrophic claims, right? And the volumes have gone up drastically on that side. Has automation actually helped in terms of speed, in terms of cost? you're just keeping costs in control.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about automation, you talk about technology, maybe they're not, so they're
automation is a layer of
right.
of technology.
Because there's lots of stuff that has happened in the catastrophe world that's been really good as far as modeling and as far as like satellite view to look at losses to decide if you even need to deploy people or if you can make a decision without a person. I think if you're a property adjuster, the thing you're really afraid of is the estimates being created without you.
Yes.
Right. You're afraid of, say, Xactimate, who's the 1,000-pound gorilla, right? Just eventually people sending them some pictures and the estimate being created and they don't send the adjuster out anymore.
Yes.
Is that progress? It's progress for efficiency, I guess.
Well, I come from the tech world, right? I look at it as, and it's a double-edged sword, obviously, because it impacts jobs. But I look at it as, is it really that interesting for a human being who's capable of judgment, who's capable of, applying perspective, the human touch? They're capable of so much of that. So maybe technology is helping reduce the level of repetitiveness, the tediousness, and at some point when you get exhausted, the errors.
Yeah. I mean, there'll always be a place in the industry for smart people who can, like you say, provide complex thought, like coverage analysis, or this is really an interesting claim and it's outside the norm. And so those jobs are great. I think what the average business person would say is, well, I want to have a bunch of people in that regular field making money. I don't want that automated away, right? And sure, it's repetitive and a little boring, but it's a job.
But what about these people now being able to help with client handling and communication, things that I actually do not believe, no matter how automated you make a contact center or a person's job, there's always a role for the human touch.
Yeah. I mean, we have so many people aging out of the business that maybe there'll always be those jobs. But if you said to an average independent adjuster, well, how do you keep a staff of, let's say, 20 if these jobs are going away? They would say, well, maybe, I'm not going to be able to necessarily keep those people, but maybe they can go work for an insurance company who is willing to invest in
retraining them.
In retraining them, because as an independent adjuster, you're a tool, and if they don't need your tool, they're not.
Or, the larger adjusting companies now have an opportunity to adapt.
Yes.
And retool their processes and their people to become more responsive to the insurers and the new processes and say, well, for the complex claims, you still need us. And we're going to give you faster response times. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to retrain our people to adapt, to change.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt that you're not stopping this, and you need to adapt to it, and you need to change. You need to figure out where your niche is going to be 5 or 10 years from now, or sure, you're going to fail. There's no doubt. It's really hard for people in our industry to know how fast it's coming and how to change to be effective.
Do you guys have visibility into the insurers' plans?
It's only in certain situations where you have the kind of relationship with a client that they might share that with you. Or if you're a third party administrator, they might, because they're more interested in that relationship and how it's going to continue. But a lot of our, like in our association, a lot of the members who just provide day-to-day IA services, they don't have that level of understanding of where things are headed.
So if we were to look at, let's say, admin tasks, right? Do you guys do recorded statements? And so what happens there? Do you just essentially take the recordings and give them to the insurer, or you're still responsible for providing the transcripts or, document review and stuff like that?
Yeah. On the third party side, let's say you're taking statements of people who have injuries.
Yes.
Well, you're right. You don't have to, if you want that transcribed, you don't have to hire someone to transcribe it anymore. You can throw it into a program and it'll transcribe it. But usually what's happening is, there's a summary report being provided. And then if if the client wants to dig deeper, or if the case goes into suit and the attorney wants to read the entire statement, they will. We've actually started doing something kind of fun. We take video statements and then we provide a link to, we save the video on whatever, OneDrive, and then we provide a link so that the client can watch the video, which is really great if you want to get a better feeling for who the person is.
Yes.
Because you get to see them and their mannerisms and who they are. And it helps you with your evaluation of damages and liability.
Absolutely. And then I'm just, quickly looking through it. Have you tried technology and AI and automation in your business processes?
I mean, we're always trying to figure out what technology is going to help us do our job. We haven't yet jumped into, well, could I use AI to take over a process and eliminate a human, let's say?
What about enable a human to?
That's certainly a better way of looking at it, right? That's a certainly more positive way to say, well, how can I make things better?
Because maybe with all the hype around ChatGPT and taking over the world and ending humanity, I think it's the wrong way to look at it, because the enablement part of it is where there's true potential. I would love for a tool to be able to make me not have to do all the stuff that I don't like doing, the repetition, the stuff that exhausts me, and actually doing the creative stuff, the things that allow me to,
Yeah, I mean, the tricky part, assuming that, and I can't remember from Terminator what the name of it was not SpaceX. I'm trying to remember what it was where it was going to, it ended the world, but I think Skynet.
Yes,
yeah, Skynet. So, I mean, we have clerical employees who do repetitive tasks that probably eventually AI could do, but in their position, they wouldn't have a job. I mean, there's only so many creative things for people to do in our industry, right? If your job is to answer the phone and route people to the right place, or if your job is to package together a report from a PDF and a Word doc and an estimate and send it to the client. I mean, if AI does that, then you're just out of job. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I think eventually you could use, I'm sure you could now, AI to take the information you have and probably do 90% of the report, right? It could, and then all you would have to do is just brush it up and add a little sprinkle and get it out. And boy, if I were an adjuster in the field right now, or a CAD adjuster especially, I would love that, because I'm just trying to turn things faster, and I'm getting paid for my eyes to look at the loss.
Exactly.
If you look at it from that perspective, sure, there's potential.
Yeah. And yes, the tech does exist today, because we're building it out for the insurance medical industry and it's a very similar situation. Short turnaround times. You've got medical reports, sometimes 500 pages long, and the assessor is sitting there doing the assessment, and the dictation and the report all have, the historical reports all have to be tied into a first draft. And it's the same thing happening in adjusting.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's nothing more monotonous than reading 500 pages of medical records and making sure you don't miss something. And if I could feed that into the computer and the computer could say, here's the 10 things you need to know, I'd pay a lot for that.
Right? And it's and I guess even in the insurance industry, in terms of adjusting, the key is, in my opinion, is working with the adjusters, right? Trying to understand what is it that there's opportunities for that, staff just can't keep up with this volumes. They just can't. They're going to get overworked, and especially in CAT situations. CAT situations are the perfect example where you need to move fast, and, time is of the essence. Getting people's homes repaired or businesses back up and running is important, where the staff could never keep up with the volumes. And I think that's where the opportunity is. Now, the staff can still step in and finalize that report for you. Right? The staff is now, instead of spending 20 hours, spending 5 minutes.
I mean, look, AI can intake new losses and give them to the right person because it knows who's there and what their capabilities are. And it can send it out to them, and it can send the acknowledgement to the policyholder. It can do a lot of great things.
But we still need the human touch, because when somebody's stressed, and, they don't have a home, or they don't have a paycheck because they're dealing with a workers' comp claim, or a business owner, who's got a commercial claim, I don't think you'll ever get away from the human touch, right? And that's where your staff and the adjusters, the senior guys are going to step in and help move the claim along. Perfect. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
My pleasure.
Thank you.